Okay, hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Victor, and I'm going to be anchor for this training. Okay, we're going to be looking at how do you get started in cybersecurity with absolute zero knowledge. Okay, so this is going to be a brief, in-depth, concise heads up to anyone trying to get to cybersecurity, anyone interested in doing cybersecurity. Now, the agenda for this training is going to be, we're going to look at the 12 domains of network security. This also applies to web security, applies to cloud security, applies to app security, applies to several other areas in security. I use this image as a point of reference to other aspects of security. So we'll look at the 12 domains of security. Then we're going to look at attacks. We're going to look at the cybersecurity roles. We'll look at some of the job descriptions. We'll look at some vulnerability scanners. Then the next thing I'm going to be looking at is what are those top 5 certifications that you could get with zero skills. And those 5 certifications you could get that can get you a role in cybersecurity. So I'm going to be evaluating those skill sets as we move on. If you're interested in starting up with cybersecurity, you don't have tech skills, you don't have that tech knowledge, but you have that passion. I'm also going to talk about some of the non-technical skills required if you want to get into cybersecurity. Now, there are quite a lot of domains in cybersecurity. Now, the word cybersecurity is you trying to secure the cyber space. The cyberspace consists of websites, networks, cloud servers, email servers, several technology stuff that are aligned to technology. So the point is that how do we make sure that this entire IT infrastructure is safe, right? So that's what cybersecurity is about. So just keeping all of these IT infrastructure safe. And that's why we're going to be looking at risk assessment. Asking yourself, how do you look at the risks that you have, and how do you ensure that that likelihood of occurrence of that hack or attack, you want to see how you can do a quantitative risk assessment to it, or you do a qualitative risk assessment to it. How do you quantify that so that you can actually plan a countermeasure, so that you can plan and that kind of stuff doesn't happen. We're also going to look at security policies, because this is the heart of cybersecurity. Before you get started in cybersecurity, before you get started in trying to protect your systems, your IT infrastructure, you want to have a policy. You want to have the do's and don'ts. You want to have, how do we do this? How do we do that? Just like corporate organizations have work policy, they have dress policy, they have HSC policy, health, safety, and environment policy. They have several types of policy. Some even have fire policy, right? You also need information security policy. So these are the different areas in cybersecurity. To talk about organization of information security, how do we organize data? How do we organize our assets? What are the different kind of assets do we have? Because the kind of asset and the value they bring to the table will tell how we're going to secure them. Imagine a PC, not just because the PC is worth $1,000, but it holds data, research worth $1 million. That particular asset might incur more cost. It makes sense to incur more cost protecting it compared to another PC, or another system, or another mobile app, or another tablet or website that just have that it's worth, let's say, $100. I just have $50 worth of data in it. So asset management is very critical. And of course, human resource, because at the heart of you protecting your websites, cloud, your emails, your all of those stuff, it's humans. Humans are the interconnecting factor between all of these, your devices and their usage. So we say the weakest link in the information security, the weakest link is humans. That's why social engineering is very popular. So social engineering is you trying to piggyback or try to exploit the human nature. The people actually want to help. That's why you hear phishing. People send an email to somebody that is not meant to be, and all of that. So human resource security is very important. And of course, physical and environmental security. That's why we talk about CCTV. We talk about having a man trap. We have all of those things, barricades and doors, locks that will help us protect our data. Because if you have the best server that can protect your infrastructure, but you don't have a lock, you don't have like a kind of, it's not secured safely, physically, then you don't have information security. So I want to make this video very short. So these are other areas also. So you have communications, you have information, you have access control, you have incident management. So this is just to give you a heads up of some of the areas that applies to both network, cloud, web, and other areas in security. So this is an idea of the different areas of security, and you can also major in one of them. Okay, now the next thing I want to talk about is if you want to get started in security, if you want to start taking some of the courses I'm going to let you know, understand that what you're trying to mitigate is an attack. You don't want an attack to happen. So that is offensive, right? And if an attack happens, if you come in as a security expert, as an analyst, what you're not trying to do is defensive, right? Maybe in another video, I will talk about the blue team, the red team, and the purple team. So in trying to have our system secured, there are some things that we can do before an attack to make sure that we don't have an attack. And 60, 70, 80% of security should be offensive. So for me to have an attack, there must be a motive. That hacker, that bad guy must have, or bad girl, must have a motive. There must be a method, then there must be a vulnerability. A lot of what I want to talk about, you developing a career in cybersecurity, has to do with vulnerability. Right, so just stay close. I'm going to get into it very soon. Now, your job majorly is to look out for vulnerabilities, and if it's within your scope, to see how to patch them. So security analysts all over the world, all they do is to hunt. At times we call it threat hunting. It's they look out for loopholes, flaws. That's what they call the vulnerability. For instance, if you buy a router, instead of using the default logins, default details, because that's a vulnerability, you want to make sure that you patch it, you update it. You don't want to use older operating systems because they have flaws, they have vulnerability, they have weaknesses. So there must be a vulnerability and of course a goal. That will not tell the method, because a vulnerability, a loophole, for instance, in a house, if the access to the house, the door is vulnerable, has a loophole, the key lock is bad, it then means one method to break into that house is going to be that door. If the door is a high premium military grade security door, it's going to be difficult for you to have a vulnerability on that door, so you now start looking elsewhere. So what hackers do most of the time is just check out for vulnerabilities. And of course, same thing with ethical hackers, look out for vulnerabilities, see how this can be patched and have a secure system. Of course, there are several reasons why people want to hack. There are several reasons why there may be a motive for people to want to attack systems. It can be for disruption of business continuity. Business continuity has to do with your business, your enterprise, moving on, keep rendering services, even when you might have some slight disruption. So if I have fire, can I still serve my clients and my customers? If I have, let's say, most of the employees, top level executives, if they leave, can the business still continue? So that has to do with business continuity. So some of the motives for some of these security attacks are to disrupt business continuity, information theft, manipulating data, right? That is integrity. We'll look at this in some of the later videos I'm going to make. And at times, just taking revenge. Now, what are the roles you could get into if you're interested in doing cybersecurity? There are quite a lot. But one thing you should be aware is you have what we call the feeder roles. We have the entry-level roles. We have the intermediate roles. Then we have the senior level roles. So if you want to get into cybersecurity, I'm going to look at this as a career path. Then I'm also going to talk about what you can do if you have zero skills. Now, this is how it should be. First, you should have skill set in networking or software development or system engineering or financial and risk assessment or security intelligence. That's why you have the military, the police, financial crimes, fighters in most countries, they do cybersecurity. Now, because the way funds, the way the internet works, if they don't understand how that happens, it's difficult for them to fight crime. System engineering, software development, networking. So most of these are what we call the feeder roles. Because security is you trying to protect your network. So the question is that, can you set up a network? No. So I'm going to tell you how to get started with zero knowledge roles, or roles that you can begin within the next 7 weeks. Now, but if you want to go so deep, I'm talking about technical roles now, then a good knowledge in networking will suffice. A good hands-on skill set in software development will suffice. And of course, system engineering, financial, any of these roles, you call them feeder roles. Now, what are some of the entry-level roles? So you have a cybersecurity technician, IT auditor, incident analyst. So at times we call this SOC analyst or tier 1, right? Analyst. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and C-level executives. So or leadership roles. At entry level, most of the jobs of an analyst or an incident analyst is to do basic vulnerability assessment, but you will need some of this skill set because your job roles can be in a network environment or a software development company or a manufacturing company or a financial institution or any of the military, police, parastatals, agencies, or government institutions. Now, the intermediate level, doing some same thing, but at a higher level. So you see, penetration testing is coming here. So the question is, what is penetration testing? So you're simulating an attack to validate your vulnerability assessment so that you can now propose better ways to have a more secure system. I'll talk about this later on, just trying to lay some foundation. Then, of course, at senior level, you're going to be more involved in how do we have a budget, how do we have the entire landscape for our systems secured, how do we make sure that we have a good policy, how do we make sure we meet regulatory compliance and the rest. Now, I have some 35 job categories, right? So non-traditional cyber role. So you could do any of this even if you're not in cybersecurity, right? Then the more traditional roles are all of this you have mentioned. So you could pause the video and scan through. Then the executive leadership, it's all of this, like I mentioned, you could compare them to the senior level or the C-level executive. That's the chief executive officer, the chief information security officer, the chief security officer, the privacy officer. Most of these guys are going to work at C-level. In another video, I'm going to talk about the different certifications you could take for each of these roles, right? Now, let's get back to how do we begin with zero knowledge. Now, I want to pick from vulnerability assessment. So if you're going to start doing cybersecurity, you want to be able to understand vulnerability, right? So there are some top 12, 13, 14 vulnerability scanning tools. And what they do is just to check out for loopholes within either a network, a website, your whole entire enterprise or whatever, or your system. They just check out for flaws, check out for loopholes, check out for things that are not supposed to be, and they will give you a result. You want to analyze it and now pass it on to somebody else that is now going to start trying to fix that and see if they are countermeasures for those things. So, but at an entry-level role, you could start your job. You could start your developing your passion for learning how to do vulnerability assessment, endpoint security, and the rest. So these are some of the top vulnerability scanners we have in the market. Acunetics, Be Secure, Bobsuit. Bobsuit have a free training. I'll talk about that some other time. The GFI Vanguard, Frontline, Nessus, Nexpose, Nmap, OpenVAS, Qualys. Now I'll talk about Qualys. So that brings me to the top 3 certifications. So I have 5 certifications that you could do that are free of charge. And with these 5, 6, 7 certifications, because I think Qualys have up to like 7, 8. So if you add it up to this, you could have 10 certifications that you could have at your beck and call. Within the next 30 days, you could complete them, understand them, and begin your role as a cybersecurity analyst or a cybersecurity vulnerability scanner, scan manager, or as a writer, a technical writer. Okay, I think I have some of these entry-level roles indicated. Okay, look at this one. Technical writer, security awareness trainer, customer success. You see these roles, you could get started with them. You could look out for jobs within these roles. And with these certifications, you are good to go. So let me talk about the certifications one after the other. I've opened them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's start with the very first one. So you go to qualys.com/training, create an account, and you have quite a lot of self-paced instructor trainings that you could get and get a certification at the end of the day. So the very first one is Vulnerability Management Foundation. So a lot of big tech companies, a lot of organizations, either training companies, solutions companies deploying IT service-based or product-based, they are going to use Qualys or any other vulnerability scanner. So now what Qualys is doing is that since it's among the top best vulnerability scanners, why not us train persons passionate about starting a role in cybersecurity? So you have quite a lot of trainings here. You have Vulnerability Management Foundation, Vulnerability Management Detection and Response, Vulnerability Management. So you could go through them step by step. At the end of the day, you're able to have this certificate and help you get a scholarship or land a role in cybersecurity. In another video, I'm going to talk about scholarship. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share this video to anybody you know interested in cybersecurity. Don't forget to leave a comment if you have questions with regards to some of these things I am explaining. You also have Policy Compliance Foundation. You have policy compliance. So if you check any of these certifications, they are very detailed. Some of them will take you 40 hours, some of them will take you 6 hours, some of them will take you 5 hours, and they are all self-paced. All you just need to do is register an account, go through most of this training, go through most of the labs, go through most of the quiz, and you have the certification at the end of the day. So you have some foundation courses here. You have Endpoint Detection and Response Foundation, Vulnerability Management Foundation, quite a lot of them. So you could pick 5, 6, 7. You could also ask in the comment section what your foundation is, maybe what suggestions I could give to you, and I'll be very glad to help. So quite a lot of certifications you could get here from Qualys. The next one I want to talk about is Networking Essentials from Skills for All. Southtech is an accredited Cisco Academy. So there are some courses on the Cisco platform that are free, nicely created courses, and of course some of them are paid. So I'm sharing some of the ones that are free that you can get certificates and digital badge for and can help you get the job. And the very first one is Networking Essentials. Don't forget, when we looked at the feeder rules, we said networking. So, but there's a Networking Essentials certification here. I just need roughly about 70 hours or less, I can complete this entire course and it will teach me networking basics, networking protocol basics, network services basics, home networking. These skill sets are very critical for somebody that wants to get into networking. You have about 43 labs. It's entry level, it's beginner. At the end of the day, you get a digital badge. You could show that to your employee that you have networking skill set. The next one is endpoint security. So endpoint security has to do with all of the tablets, all of the mobile phones, all of the printers, all of those devices at the edge of my network. How do I protect them? So this is a 40 hours course. It has 31 hands-on. It's intermediate level. Then this is what you get at the end of the day. Network defense and cyber threat management. This is 20 hours. It has 16 labs, and you get the cyber threat badge at the end of the day. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to get started with cybersecurity with 0 skill set and 5 certifications you could get to get into the door of cybersecurity. If there's any video you want me to record, if there's any clarification you need, don't forget to comment in the comment section, and I'm very glad to help you. Thank you very much. I'm going to be making more videos on cybersecurity. I'm going to be making more content to get your hands dirty, get your hands wet, get you actually skilled up for cybersecurity. Catch up.